Hello, today's theme of my bitter critique will be the so-called best multiplayer first-person shooter, the Battlefield series. I will thoroughly review this title and its evolution till its current most popular installment, Battlefield 4. Of course, Battlefield Hardline won't be forgotten either. Let's all agree on the fact that we all love Battlefield series. What current gamers like it the most for? Of course you'll say vehicles, huge maps, large variety of weapons, and also graphics. This is undeniably true. However, I will be reviewing the series from the perspective of the previous generation gamer, who has actually witnessed the evolution of the Battlefield and started playing it while it was still a PC exclusive. I suppose everyone not familiar with BF of back then will be interested in this review and will make appropriate conclusions after watching this video. I warn you though, as there will be a lot of butthurt and bitterness. Despite the fame of Battlefield 1942 and Battlefield Vietnam, the real history of Battlefield began with BF2, where we got this characteristic combination of balanced infantry and vehicle combat, not a vehicle and cannon fodder combat of previous installments. The game was quite a revolution with its awesome graphics and easy to learn, hard to master game mechanics. The game contained three factions: Middle Eastern Coalition, the US, and China. Each faction had its specific number of weapons only available to this exact site, and also one unlockable gun for each of the 7 classes: Recon, armed with silenced weapons and C4, Sniper with AP mines and a sniper rifle, Assault with their underbarrel grenade launcher, Support with a machine gun and ammo bags, Engineer with AT mines and the ability to repair vehicles, Medic with med packs, and finally an anti-tank with their SMG and the rocket launcher. Another one unlockable gun was added by an add-on called Special Forces. Despite minor balancing flaws, the realization of the weapons was perfect. Each gun had its own recoil pattern, which had to be memorized and dealt with by every competitive player. No gun, however, allowed for modern battlefield paradigm called spray and pray. You couldn't possibly hit anything beyond your feet with automatic fire, so you had to use single shot mode for medium to long distances. Burst mode was also viable for medium distances if the shooter was familiar and able to compensate recoil of their gun. This kind of mechanic, along with severely resented dolphin diving, allowed capable and skilled players to avoid the plague of online FPS's camping. The camper himself had to be skilled in order to kill anyone capable enough. The guns were quite accurate and generally required about 3 to 4 hits to the torso or 1 to the head to down the target. That is about the same amount of hits as in today's Battlefield, except for headshots. However, landing those shots required fair amount of skill, meaning there was about no way a camper. Oh, we are all smart people, and not some hypocrites, are we? Let's call a spade a spade. There was no way a noob could kill a skilled player effortlessly. Let's take a break from weapons and talk about vehicles. The game included buggies, armored jeeps, APCs, MBTs, self-propelled AA guns, attack and transport helicopters, fighter jets, and strike fighters. The balance in those lied in the simple fact that a combat vehicle is a much more valuable battle asset than a single infantryman, which is a quite realistic portrayal, meaning the vehicles were super dangerous and deadly, but had certain weak points which could be exploited for an easy kill. Again, just as it was the case with weapons, the infantry player could potentially overpower a tank, meaning he had to be at least somewhat skilled and knowledgeable about the game and its mechanics. Jet and helis were a whole another story. However, then again, it was possible to overwhelm them with tactics and numbers. There were ways to dispatch even a skilled jet or heli pilot by manning multiple AA sites at the same time, or shooting it with 3 or 4 Barrett M95s. To sum it up, skill and tactics were required to battle a vehicle. I can hear possible complaints from you about jets and helis being OP and stuff, but you, the lovers of everything realistic and tactical, shouldn't whine at all, because you really don't expect a modern battle tank to have a hard time dealing with a single infantryman, do you? Or do you think a combat aircraft, a king of battlefields for past 80 years, shouldn't be able to destroy a meager tank? That's laughable, and you know it. I want every single whiner about vehicles being OP in BF2 to understand that it was supposed to be that way, or the awesome moderately realistic Battlefield 2 could have been transformed into Unreal Tournament 2004, except a little less arcade. Retrospectively looking, the maps were totally kicking ass. You wanted vehicle maps? Here you go. Cobra Jam, Gulf of Oman, Operation Clean Sweep, only to name a few. Wanted to play without those pesky aircraft? Road to Jalalabad, Mashtur City, the famous strike at Karkand. Wanted much more focus on infantry? Here comes the Special Forces add-on with its omega awesome maps like Warlord, Ghost Town or Devil's Perch. And I seriously thought back then that the strike at Karkand was one of the worst infantry maps in BF2 compared to Mashtur, Ghost Town and Warlord. And the worst map in my opinion was Songua Stalemate. I view this game as an experiment. Just look how much is similar to BF3 in minor details, yet it remains BF2-like. The game contains only two factions of European Union and Pan-Asian Coalition. Each side had its specific weapons. Several unlockable guns and accessories were available for any of the factions. The classes were changed a lot. A sniper and the Spec-ops classes were fused together, just like an assault and a medic, an engineer and an anti-tank. This way, we've got four classes of medic, sniper, engineer and a support. I do believe the idea of 7 classes was a lot better, as in BF2 you had to actually choose between a bigger assault capabilities or a med pack, and between landmines and rocket launchers. That was a much fairer system in my opinion, and it didn't look like the people were super soldiers armed Rambo style. The classes were still better balanced than BF Company 2 counterparts though. The weapons were overall skill dependent except for one, VAS assault rifle, which was clearly superior in terms of magazine size and recoil to every other assault rifle in the game. No need to say, every infantry server was full of VAS equipped faggots who didn't even bother to try out any other gun. The arsenal was a severe downgrade from BF2 in terms of variability and quantity. Semi-auto sniper rifles, silenced pistols, real semi-auto shotguns and so on were excluded from the game, compared to BF2's 6 shotguns, 10 assault rifles, 7 carbines, 6 machine guns and 5 submachine guns. 2142 contained only 1 shotgun, 5 assault rifles, 1 carbine, 3 machine guns and 2 submachine guns. Accessories were a little better, with EMP and smoke grenades, a deployable shield, stealth generator, and squad leader drones. Overall, the weapons were okay, despite the severely limited quantity. The vehicle's quantity was also heavily decreased and consisted of meager 14 vehicles compared to even Battlefield Vietnam's 34. Jet aircraft and helicopters were cut from the game and replaced with 2 kinds of convertiplanes, an assault and a transport one. The quality of the result is debatable though, as I would have preferred some futuristic version of fire and bomber jets added, as well as a dedicated attack helicopter. The convertiplane would have been a good medium weapons platform. Another variant is a transformable helicopter, like the one from the movie called The Sixth Day. What I really disliked about air vehicles is the fact that everyone was now able to equip shoulder-launched SAMs and easily shut you down. The missiles were bugged and twirled around your aircraft until its shields ran out and then damaged it by 45% of its health. That, in my opinion, is a very unwelcome change. The jets were completely removed. The stationary anti-air replacements were upgraded with guns and EMP missiles. The walkers received anti-air turrets, and yet the developers even added a handheld anti-air rocket launcher, which is such an overkill for a nerfed helicopter. Tanks were downgraded by removing a coaxial machine gun. The pack tank, a clear Mag Rider ripoff, was relatively okay due to its maneuverability, but the EU one was just a regular useless tank which could be dispatched with a single hit to its back. This downgrade was clearly done to encourage usage of the game's feature, Battle Walkers, which received tanks, coaxial machine guns and a lot of close combat rockets. top-mounted turret consisted of a machine gun and an anti-aircraft AMP missile. The real candy of the game was an APC. This monster was totally unlike previous APCs. It sported a sniper-accurate machine gun, an AMP launcher, and an anti-infantry grenade launcher. The passengers were able to use several machine guns and escape pods. This vehicle was a really fun to play one compared to the rest. The maps were pretty neat with both good vehicle and infantry maps. Berlin, Belgrade, Serbia, Gibraltar and Tunis can really be set as an example of a good map design along with BF2 masterpieces. The game featured a gimmicky game mode where each team possessed a mobile base called the Titan. The objective was to destroy the enemy Titan, which sometimes was a really arduous task as every corridor of the Titan was heavily rigged with explosives and being camped by the defenders. Overall, despite its flaws, the game has left a good impression on me. BFBC2 was clearly a different game. The course to drag COD players on BF side was already evident by the game's features like a puke-inducing, over-the-top patriotic single-player campaign with bad Russians attacking innocent US armed forces. Oh, so original! Simple but heavily stuffed with obstacles, labyrinth-like map designs, nerf-to-hell vehicles, and super-accurate firearms. Inability to kill with a single headshot except for sniper rifles. Now ammo is counted by rounds, not magazines, which was also unlike previous battlefields. Just like the previous game, jets were excluded from this one, as was the ability to go prone. Some upgrade it was. The maps were super unremarkable. If asked now, I could probably name almost all of the BF2 maps, but with this one, the only thing coming to my mind is Arica Harbor. In this game, a pathetic feature called Destruction 2.0 was introduced. Not only the original maps of BFBC2 were, to put it lightly, plain garbage, the players were allowed to level most of the stuff on maps, which almost destroyed their already non-existent design and rendered them unplayable in any way except brainless run-and-gun style of COD or plain camping, especially taking into account the increased full auto accuracy of all the guns. Supposedly the problem was recognized, so the fantastic feature was toned down a little with each battlefield, and in BF3 already it was turned into nothing more than a gimmick. COD game mechanics persisted though. Weapon customization was also added. Players were allowed to install red dot sights. At first I was really happy about this, but with time I changed my mind. Weapon customization is actually a bad feature because it removes the challenge of aiming down the iron sights, where those sights cover the whole lower half of the screen. Instead of coping with sights obstructing your target while you shoot, players were allowed to have sweet time with their noob-friendly red dots. The classes were divided in the stupidest way ever. There were an obligatory sniper, an assault with ammo packs and a grenade launcher, a medic with a machine gun and a health pack, and an engineer with a rocket launcher, mines, and suppressed guns. The vehicle unlocks were the worst kind of customization. The player was allowed to choose between an active armor upgrade, a coaxial machine gun, a faster reload of the main gun, an optics, and so on. Never mind that in BF2 I had almost all of it installed on any tank or an APC, but now you had to choose one. Coaxial and top-mounted MGs were terribly inaccurate and had to hit a soldier like 5 to 7 times to kill them, compared to BF2 sniper-accurate coaxial MG with 3 hit kill and a top-mounted 50 cal with 2 hit kill. Helicopters were also made basically useless as they were unable to reach any altitude higher than 300 meters on small maps and 700 meters on larger ones. This made them an easy target for another awesome feature of BC2, Tracer Dart. You could hit a target with this dart and have your rockets lock on it. Because of the altitude limit, helicopters were easy prey for any relatively skilled tanker. In case of damage, you also had to bail out and manually repair the vehicle, risking your helicopter being stolen by awesome teammates as repairing helipads were removed from the game. A really unnecessarily realistic feature in an overly arcade game with unlimited vehicle ammo. The damage of all vehicle weapons was significantly toned down to allow arcade players have their sweet run and gun with SMG mechanic without interference from tanks and other vehicles. In this game, the developers were clearly more focused on prohibiting veteran BF players from spawn camping COD acolytes, as the spawn system was twisted as hell. The enemy main base was covered with a dead zone, preventing your team from reaching a defeated foe. Naturally, in this kind of situations, the defeated team was just casually camping in their base while being protected by a freaking dead zone. The individual spawn points on flags were also randomly placed in order to discourage any kind of tactical behavior of attacking players, who always got the enemy spawning from behind them. In BF2, there was a tactic of blocking one of the 3 spawn points with a car and camping 2 other points. Why isn't this a fair tactic? This is a war game and you are capturing an enemy base while the enemy casually spawns right in the middle of it. Why can't they be punished for it? If you were experienced enough, you could actually overwhelm the spawn camper in BF2. When encountered with whiners about spawn raping, I usually told them something along the lines of "don't spawn then," which was generally met with rage. There was also a funny upgrade to the damage model of the ground vehicles. Dealt damage now is linked to the entry angle of the shell, meaning you could never accurately predict the damage you're dealing to your enemy. Compared to BF2's crystal clear system of 25 damage points for the front, 30 for the sides, 50 for the back of the tank, this system was totally unpredictable and random. You weren't tactically calculating enemy vehicles' health and the amount of required shots. You were now desperately shooting till it's dead, like in some kind of zombie horror movie. The game is really hard to judge, as it's not a completely run-and-gun title like BF4, but its internal mechanic is already heavily different from 2142. Devoid of previous Battlefield features, Bad Company 2 is a really dull and unremarkable game with as little similarities with previous Battlefields as possible. Battlefield 3 was a little better as far as features were concerned, with both jets and prawn added, but in modern way, meaning due to realism, it would take you a few seconds to lie down, but the running time was infinite. Remaining unused ammo was being transferred from your magazine to the common ammo pool with every reload. During my time with BF2 back then, I thought Strike at Corkent was a so-so overhyped map, but with BFBC2 I understood how much I was mistaken. Battlefield 3 was even worse, with its super shitty maps like Metro, Grand Bazaar, Demavant Peak, and so on, which were only marginally better than their dull Battlefield Bad Company 2 counterparts. Anyone with even half a brain would agree that those maps are clearly unsuited for this game mechanic, poorly designed and overstuffed with objects, making campers super hard to discern. Let's talk a little about camping, as BC2 and this one were notorious for it. By camper I don't mean an experienced player who carefully chooses positions and uses covers to gain advantage over enemies. I am referring to good old Counter-Strike style corner camper noobs who just sit whole round in one position hoping for easy frags. It will be a lie to say that BF2 players didn't camp, but the game mechanics didn't encourage it, as a skilled player was always able to evade their fire or even kill the camper due to your ability to shoot in the head and overall long time to kill for a camper. This, however, was changed with BFBC2, where time to kill was significantly shortened in order to allow yesterday COD campers make some frags. With BF3 the TTK became even lower, which basically meant lower entry threshold for beginners. In this game, even experienced players had little chance of survival if they were being attacked by a camper with any of the game's super accurate guns. Naturally, everyone camped like crazy, and shitty labyrinth-like map designs encouraged it. Customization was improved, with every faggot now running around with a suppressed assault rifle with red dot sight and a tactical grip. Suppressors were okay as long as they were a feature of Spec-ops and snipers' pistols in BF2. In Bad Company 2 they were okay. However, as you probably know, real soldiers don't actually run around the battlefield with suppressed assault rifles, DMRs, and machine guns. In BF2, just the pistols were suppressed, but in this game, every weapon apart from shotguns was like that. Even machine guns. Instead of being a tactical war game about modern combat, it became a Call of Duty-like shitfest, with everyone camping around every corner with their suppressed assault rifles. There was a customization feature I actually liked, the deployable bipod on weapons, particularly machine guns and sniper rifles. The feature was broken though, as it required like eternity to deploy it, while some regular H&K 416 equipped test clown spent about 2 seconds to mow you down. Unnecessary eye-candy knifing animations were introduced, making quickly knifing several people at once impossible. The classes were improved by reverting back to 2142 state, with Assault having their medpacks back, Support having supply bags, and Engineer as a tanker, not some Spec-ops. The vehicles also saw a major improvement over BC2, with the ability to select 3 unlocks per designated vehicle type, which was fine by current BF standards, but underwhelming compared to BF2. Scout helis and jets were back, however, if the first ones were okay, the jets were next to useless compared to their predecessors from BF2. No bombs, no powerful guns, no skill, just rocket spam. Instead of cool fast-paced dogfights where attention, skill and experience actually mattered, we got this pathetic Hawks-like speed control simulator. Naturally, being a modern upgraded Battlefield game, every single noob was allowed to arm themselves with a AA rocket launcher and rocket spam with it like crazy for easy kills. Same was true for ground vehicles, which were spammed with javelins. Attack helicopters had it better, with both crew members being able to launch infrared flares. This system was relatively capable of counteracting 2 spamming AA noobs, until infantry whiners cried their way to removing gunner flares, which rendered the mighty combat machine an easy flying double kill for any brainless button masher along with fighter jets. After this nerf, only APCs and tanks were left to reign over the battlefield. In Battlefield 2, vehicles were catching fire when your health meter was down to about 10%, while in this game your tank caught fire if your health was down to 50% and it was on fire until fully repaired. For aircraft, this threshold was 30% of your health. So realistic. Back to Karkand add-on severely improved the map problem with introduction of Strike at Karkand map from BF2. Why couldn't they also add Mashtur and Jalalabad is a mystery to me. Anyway, old maps were modernized, with players now being able to enter almost every building for camping. This being said, Karkand was still the best infantry and ground vehicles map in BF3. I don't really regret spending my money on this add-on, however, I just fucking love the idea of paying for content and then paying for the same content again. Modern Warfare 2 style, where you are invited to waste your money on an add-on containing several Modern Warfare 1 maps. Another expansion called Aftermath was also generously packed with OK maps like Azadi Palace, Epicenter and Tolawa Market. BFBC2 and BF3 both had this now useless feature of selecting fire modes on weapons, which is laughable, as any player after like 1 day of playtime was capable of compensating the feeble copy and paste recoil of any gun in the game. Of course, like in any other game, there were clearly good guns and the rest. The good ones were H&K 416 and, if memory serves me right, M16. And then again, a good half of the players were using only those guns, because, as we already know, most players are hypocritical faggots and like being competitive with 416 simply because they love the gun, more like because they are capable of being competitive only with this OP gun. I think it would be wise to separate Battlefield games from 1942 till 2 into old BF's category, and games from BF3 till Hardline into new BF's category. In this case, Battlefield 3 would be the best game from the second category. This one was supposed to be the closest thing we could have to the legendary Battlefield 2. The commander was back, the third faction China was added. However, other than aforementioned features, it was just Battlefield 3, with more identical weapons, more tactical grips and suppressors, more useless features, more shitty maps, and so on. No faction-specific weapons were added. The weapons were still ultra-accurate in full auto mode, requiring little to no skill to compensate the recoil, thus the time to kill rivals that of the latest COD games. Run and gun mechanic persisted. Weapon customization was improved by adding 20 types of gun sights, 3 types of flashlights, 4 types of laser sights, 3 types of compensators, 4 types of suppressors, 6 types of hand grips, 6 types of underbarrel grenade launchers, and 4 types of underbarrel shotguns. You are able to paint your gun with one of the 136 kinds of camouflage patterns and place your emblem on it. Wait, what is this, a fucking Korean MMORPG? Do we really need all of that? 4 kinds of suppressors and laser sights? People supposedly do, because every camping and running and gunning fag in this Korean masterpiece has his gun heavily customized with some kind of grip, a mandatory red dot sight, and a suppressor for easy mode. I've even encountered several fags who play only with silenced machine gun with a grip and a red dot. Of course, as this is modern game, mandatory overpowered weapons are also here in the face of Ace 23. Needless to say, this is the gun everyone plays with as an assault. For a support class, we've got an AWS. Both of the guns have no recoil whatsoever, and half of the players severely abuse them. Sadly, SMGs were moved to the engineer class, which made them unusable for any kind of competitive infantry combat, where everyone except for you has a med pack. Vehicles are also customizable with 131 type of war paint and several kinds of useless unlocks, one of which is clearly superior to others in its slot, like 30 Mike shells in fighter jet's case. 20 kinds of knives were added. For increased realism, tanks now have simulated autoloaders, even M1A2 does, which basically ensure your death in any tank versus tank confrontation if you aren't equipped with an APFSDS round, as you aren't dealing much damage and your autoloader runs dry and starts to take extra long to load the next round. The next realistic feature disables your vehicle if you are more or less severely hit, prohibiting you from leaving the battle. This is especially cool with helis and jets, as you lose power for a certain period of time and just crash into the ground if your altitude isn't high enough. Catching fire mechanic also persisted. Why is it the vehicles are made so overly realistic in such an arcade COD-esque game, while the damage any vehicle deals is laughable? The infantry is capable of infinitely sprinting with a carbine, a pistol, a knife, several AT mines, an AT rocket launcher with 5 rockets and few grenades. Why is it that any player is able to spawn with a shoulder-launched SAM with a tons of missiles? Shouldn't those launchers be pickup guns? Is it really balanced and fair? You really aren't playing in a helicopter if at least 2 players decide to hunt your bird down with SAMs. You aren't really going to be doing anything daring in a tank if you encounter about 1 or 2 engineers desperate to kill you with their Quake 3 rocket launchers, shooting once every 3 seconds. The air combat is again a speed control simulator, clearly inferior to the adrenaline-packed BF2 dogfights. I really like both vehicle and infantry combat, but in this game I quickly forgot about using vehicles and switched to just infantry to spare my psych and burning ass. The maps really surprised me again. In BF2 I thought, what could be worse than Songhua Stalemate, and then Bad Company 2 came out with its Panama Canal and Laguna Presa being the most popular maps. I thought again, what could be worse than that? Then BF3 with Operation Metro and Grand Bazaar was released. I got this thought once again, and guess what? Battlefield 4 with Operation Locker came out. Fucking A, DICE, nice job. At this point I actually dreamed of Songhua Stalemate being added in this game, which tells a lot. BF3 became relatively okay when Back to Karkand and Aftermath were released, and here I thought Karkand was really a mediocre map in BF2 back then. In BF3 it was a blessing from heaven compared to Metro and Bazaar. Thankfully, DICE used their Modern Warfare 2 practice from BF3 once again and added Operation Metro, which I already didn't view as a despicable abomination of a map design, but as a quite okay map compared to Operation Locker. Perhaps the best infantry map in BF4 was added by a Dragon's Teeth expansion and is called Propaganda. It's hard to find servers with this map only though, as it's not as popular as Metro and Locker. The rest of the maps were unremarkable and a popular bunch. I would also like to complain about the quantity of the game modes, which severely diversify the gaming community. It should have been just a traditional conquest and maybe capture the flag for infantry, not like 15 different types of game modes nobody actually plays. Domination, Deathmatch, Gunmaster, Diffuse. What is this, Call of Duty? Oh sorry, it actually is. Presets were also pathetic. Why do we even need a hardcore mode if the normal mode is hardcore enough with almost instant kills by campers? Why remove the minimap? They should have just removed the feature where you get spotted the moment you fire unsuppressed weapon. Your health is already low enough as it is. While I'll speak about it, let me tell you something about infantry combat. It sucks. The way they made it, the game clearly asks for a BF2 style medic with 4 auto-replenishing instant heal health packs, not this super slow healing garbage. In the end, you spend most of the time healing as super accuracy OP guns and campers leave you with like 5 to 30% of your health after every gunfight. That is, if you are even alive. If you aren't, here's a catch. You are only revived with full health if medic shock pads are fully charged. And if you are instantly killed after, you can't be revived anymore. Bravo, DICE! Encore! The reviving mechanic should have also been made BF2 style. I suppose that is clear enough. And what about the spawn mechanic? We've got 5-man squads, which is cool. However, any squad mate can spawn on any other squad mate, which is balanced by a feature prohibiting players from spawning on the fighting squad mate. I don't really understand how this feature works, as I seem to always see how 1 or 2 players I killed few seconds ago just spawn on a camper who is constantly under fire from me and my teammates. Those faggots spawn with brief invulnerability, which is fucking fantastic to see as you try to kill them, empty your mag and just watch as they easily hand your sorry ass to you on a plate. For me, this feature for some reason works as intended, and I can't spawn on a teammate engaged in a firefight. This game needs BF2 spawn mechanic where squad mates were supposed to protect the squad leader, who works as a squad's only spawn point. DICE was always fighting against grenade spam, but for some reason, wherever they do ends up encouraging it. Be it the map designs, the grenades themselves, and so on. This time they're fighting grenade spam by adding more different types of grenades. You've got a mortar, explosive UAV, 4 types of underbarrel grenades, 2 types of standalone grenade launchers, 6 types of regular grenades, frag grenade, mini grenade, impact grenade, incendiary grenade, flash grenade, grenade. Fucking stop it, DICE. Frag and smoke grenades would have been enough. Needless to say, even map designs themselves facilitate grenade spam. And the last thing to say about this best online FPS is shotguns. I mean, what the hell, people? Why are the shotguns banned on almost all of the infantry servers? Because your usual run and gun faggot with a suppressed Ace-23 has a little chance of overpowering a shotgun in close combat. Such a sad story, bro. I like how infantry servers prohibiting the use of grenades, landmines, rocket launchers, OP guns, and especially fucking Ace-23 don't even exist, because the COD players, in other words, the largest target audience, can't even play with anything other than a silenced assault rifle, just like in those Modern Warfare 2 times where every faggot was running around with a suppressed ACR. The game contained monstrously overpowered guns like dual pistols, which were capable of easily killing 3 to 4 players in close quarters with a single magazine, but nobody even knew about it because, you know, silenced assault rifles. The game is a pinnacle of accumulating every single unwanted bloat feature from COD into a single Battlefield game with no evolution whatsoever. Do I even need to say anything about this one? I think this masterpiece's online player count speaks for itself. After the developers got tired of adding new tactical grips and grenades to Battlefield 4, they decided to reinvent things. EA and DICE thought people were supposedly tired of tactical war games with tanks and choppers, so the players got a tactical war game with cops and criminals. Bravo! This game is basically Battlefield 4 with most of the vehicles and bloat features, like over 9,000 weapons removed, 30 kinds of melee weapons, and tons of attachments persisted though. There are 4 standard Battlefield classes: a medic, an engineer, a support, and a sniper. The only difference from BF4 is the way the classes are named, that's all. The vehicles consist of useless crap like different kinds of cars, bikes, and several helicopters. Multiple types of vehicles can be outfitted with the same 3 kinds of machine guns, despite the fact that the only kind of aerial nuisance in this game is a paper-thin scout helicopter. A noob-friendly shoulder-launched SAM exists in this game as a pickup gun. Oh yes, and so do anti-tank launchers, except this game has no tanks, jets, or attack helicopters whatsoever. And good job arming a medic with the most versatile weapon. There's not even a point of playing as any other class, because there are no tanks for an engineer, the gameplay is too fast-paced for a sniper, maybe only a support class with a shotgun is a viable option. I suppose in a game about cops and criminals, the main weapons were supposed to be knives, handguns and shotguns, not a fucking military arsenal with assault and battle rifles, machine guns, rocket launchers, manpads, grenades and stuff. The game seems like another experiment by EA to change the title, along with Bad Company 2, which was bound to fail from the start. We want a Battlefield war game, not Call of Duty with cops and robbers. Concluding this episode of Bitter Critique, I'd like to present what we've gained and what we've lost during the evolution of Battlefield franchise. The gains are good graphics, pointless destruction, physics, strange portions of vehicle realism, tons of blood features, fast-paced COD-esque infantry combat, extremely low entry threshold, pathetic cheesy single-player campaign. And here goes the list of things we've lost. Weapon balance, skill-based shooting mechanic, well-designed maps, combat-capable vehicles, balanced guns, faction-specific weapons, weapon realism, team play. As running in a horde of medics is not considered a team play. To put it bluntly, with the release of Battlefield Bad Company 2 on PC, Battlefield as we know it ceased to exist and was turned into Call of Duty with vehicles. Yes, EA and DICE have certainly gained a lot of money from those COD players, but was there really a need to codify the game this much? Why did they have to ruin everything BF franchise was known for and adjust it for the needs of those casual Angry Birds players? You don't really have to answer, as this is just like Max Payne said once, a rhetorical question. And for the fun of it, let's have a poll. Those of you guys who consider themselves old school players and agree with the fact of Battlefield changing for the worst, press thumbs up. Those of you who absolutely love the latest BF installments and are current generation gamers, press thumbs down. Let this be a social statistics experiment. See you in the next video, and as always, please be smart and educate yourselves.